Hey class, Mr. Modin here with a help video to help you understand how to write a paragraph proof to prove that two lines are parallel. The key thing to understand is that in order to show that two lines are parallel, we have to show that a pair of angles that are in the same spot are also the same size. So for example, let me mark two angles here. Here are two angles that are in the same spots. They're corresponding. What I don't know without more evidence is whether or not they're the same size. They might be, and if they are, the lines have to be parallel. So my goal is a pair of corresponding and congruent angles. So let's take a look at this picture, which looks pretty familiar to us by now. The key thing to notice, though, is that the lines are not given to us as parallel. In fact, our goal is to prove that very fact. So let's dive in. We start with the given. So we are given that angle 7 is congruent to angle 2. I don't have the congruent key on this keyboard, but bear with me. We wish to prove that lines A and B are parallel. So that's the given, and that's what we want to prove. So let's go ahead and mark the given in the picture, just so we know what's happening here. We have angle 7 and angle 2. Those are not in the same position. Can I work with those, though? Let's see. We're given that. Let's focus on angle 2 for a moment, because it was just mentioned last. What's angle 2 the same as? Well, sure, angle 7, that sort of defeats the purpose. Let me tell you what angle 2 is not the same as necessarily. We cannot state that angle 2 is the same as angle 6. That would be incorrect, because I do not know that lines A and B are parallel. I cannot jump from one set to the other. However, I don't have to, because remaining within this set, I can still say, let me put this back here, that angle 2 is the same as angle 4. Because this set could not exist at all, and this fact would still be true. So let me go ahead and state that. So we're given that we wish to prove this, we observe that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Now, what I've just written is incorrect, because what I need to do is to actually justify that, because they are vertical angles, something we have proven before. So we have 7 to 2, we have 2 to 4, so hopefully by now, especially if you've seen the previous video, you know that the transitive property is going to come into play. So by the transitive property, we can state that if 7 goes to 2 and 2 goes to 4, then angle 7 goes to, or is congruent to, angle 4. So now we haven't sort of jumped to the conclusion, we've arrived at the fact that 7 and 4 are the same, which, if you'll notice, means they're the same size and in matching positions. They're congruent and corresponding, and that's our goal. So these angles are congruent and corresponding, which is only true if A is parallel to B, which is our goal. We wanted to show that, and we have QED, that which was to be shown. So again, this is the main idea, that we have to show a pair of angles are the same size in the same place. Let's try another. Okay, this time we're given that we're not given any congruence at all. We're given that 3 and 6 add to make 180. So keep in mind, it's not saying that 3 is the same as 6. In fact, if you'll notice, they're not the same size. It looks like 3 is acute and 6 is obtuse, but it's saying that they're supplementary or make 180. Our goal is still to show that A and B are parallel. So we are given that angle 3 plus angle 6 equals 180. We wish to prove that A is parallel to B. So it's kind of hard to show that these two angles are supplementary, but let me just sort of mark them with different stripes here. So that angle has one stripe and this angle has two stripes. And what I know is that these two guys together make 180. And it's that latter number here, 180, that's going to be important for the first portion. I want to see, are there other 180s I can identify in the picture? Well, working backwards again, let's look at angle 6. That was mentioned right before the 180. So what else makes 180 with angle 6? Several things. It looks like angle 8 as well as angle 5. Both of those would make a pair of supplementary angles or linear pairs, depending on how you describe them. Now, you'll hopefully notice that angle 8 is going to be a better accomplice to mention here. 6 and 5 do make 180 true, but 6 and 8 is a better combination because 8 is in the same spot as 3. So I'm going to state here that these two angles here make 180. So we observe that angle 6 plus angle 8 equals 180 degrees. So we have 3 and 6 equal 180, given. We have 6 and 8 equals the very same 180. So they have 180 in common. Let me go back to the previous slide. Just like in the previous problem, we had these two statements, and they had angle 2 in common. And because I had those two angles, with angle 2 in common, I can basically replace or go through angle 2 to connect 7 and 4, and that's called the transitive property. So the same idea holds true here. I can use the 180 and basically glue these things together through the transitive property. So by the transitive property, we can say that angle 3 plus angle 6 goes through 180 to arrive at angle 6 plus angle 8. So the transitive property basically replaced the 180 with these two statements here. Now, looking at this statement carefully, mathematically, we have angle 6 appearing on both sides of an equal sign. So, hopefully your math, alarms are going off and you go, oh, same thing on both sides. So we can thus subtract angle 6 from both sides, leaving, let's see, if I remove angle 6 from both sides, that would give me, this goes and this goes, looks like 3 equals 8. So angle 3 is equal to angle 8. And we've just arrived at a very important conclusion. 3 and 8 are the same size. We just said that, and we have logic to back it up. Let me move this blue guy out of the way for a moment. So 3 and 8 are the same size, but they're also in the same position. And the only way that's true is if these are the same size in the same position, corresponding incongruent, these lines must be parallel, which is our goal. So these angles are congruent and corresponding, which is only true if A is parallel to B. What is our goal? QED. All right, hope that helps.